Hi, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos. Thank you for being with us in our service today, and we are grateful that you are going to experience and know the presence of God within you today. As we begin with the meditation, David Rosenblatt offers us a special piece of music.
Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Love is one. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Love is one. Love is one. Love is one. Love is
So I invite you to close your eyes and allow this music and the words of my heart to bring you a sense of peace and comfort, for the spiritual energy that is within you responds to them. In this day, it is a day of remembering who we are. You and I are spiritual beings, learning how to be fully human. So I invite you now to simply listen. Listen with your heart. Listen with every ounce of your being. For in each of us, there is a power. There is a grace. And even though it can be buried sometimes under feelings of dissonance, under busyness, frustrations, there is a beauty to us that in this day I hope you find. As you remember that you are the water of the earth. As you cry, as you cleanse, as you flow, as you let go. For the water moves through and overcomes all barriers. And remember that you are the fire of the earth. In you is a flame that burns, that cannot be tamed. It adapts and ignites things in this world that need to happen in your world. And it removes from existence those things that are no longer needed. You are fire. And in this moment, I invite you to remember that you are air. as you breathe and focus, as you have the capacity to decide and observe that which is around you. You are the air that provides life. Life-giving joy. And you are also the earth. You and the ground of your being build, heal, give, receive, and know. You are the earth. And all that is within you is good. And in this moment, I hope you can also remember that you are spirit. As you listen and be stilled to that still aspect of you, wherein you know truth, wherein you know the energy of spiritual understanding. You are spirit, able to connect with the ethereal, to move beyond simply mental activities, and to touch the realm of existence with your imagination, and to know the infinite deeply and profoundly, and to express it. You are spirit. And may you always remember this blessing. This beautiful blessing that you are. And for a moment, I invite you to step into the silence of that ground of your being as it rises up within you and carries you through the path of your life. And into peace and trust and infinite possibilities that you are born of and for, that you were made of and for. Let it be so. Amen and amen. I invite you to open your eyes and share with us this beautiful presence of David Rosenblatt. What is your special today?
It's, I just so happen to have to switch instruments to do it, but here. It's a new song that I just wrote and writing, still writing, but I think I'm there. It's a song called Love in Action. Let me get this on here real quick. As we go through life, there's a lot to be said about being. I mean, in your being a certain way, being present, being loving. But if we just sit there and just be, instead of putting it out into the world, or putting it into action. There's a song I wrote called Love in Action about that. And it's about climbing out of our shells sometimes. So you said something about climbing earlier this week, and it's like, there's the bridge. It's just sort of like clicked into that. This will wake us up on the meditation too. It's about action. Oh yeah.
What's the name?
The name is Love in Action, as composed by me, David Rosenblatt. Bluebird Music, ask that. way of moving from being into doing. Loving action is a form of moving from being into doing. Love in action is a way of being while moving with love into doing. This act of being becomes doing while moving with love into action. Climbing up, climbing in, climbing out, climb within. Climbing out, climbing in, it's all within here. That will lead you from fear into love. Love in action is a way of moving from being into doing. Love in action is a way of seeing the Christ that's within you. Loving action is a form of moving from being into doing. Doing is also a form of being. Now do it with love into action. Yeah! Go beyond the fact of being and climb into doing. Gone beyond, gone beyond, gone beyond. The way to be, is it good yet? Is it good yet? But sometimes you gotta do. You gotta climb into doing, climb into doing. We're climbing up and climbing in, climbing out, climb within, climbing out, climbing in. It's all within you. It's all within here as we climb up, climbing in, climbing out, climb within, climbing out, climbing in. It's all within here. That will lead us from fear into love. Love in action is a way of moving from being into doing. Go beyond this act of being and move into doing.
Thank you, David. Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Oh, goodness.
Well, good morning, everyone. So are you all preparing for the Arctic cold blast that we're getting and going to have? You know, there are some people who are saying it's going to be really, really cold this winter, right? Yes. Well, as most of you know,
Started already.
yeah, it's already started, yes. As most of you know, I'm just back from going to London, England for the very first time in my life, and I had an experience that was just wonderful and exquisite. And in it, I had to prepare. I had to take my winter coat and some other things, and I was glad I did because I needed it. But I had to take things with me. And I also was there, and I received this message for us today. So not only was I there to experience the wonders of London, I was there to experience where I'm headed next, and you too, as long as you're willing to walk with me. All right, so if you've ever experienced temperatures below freezing, okay, then you have a taste of what it's like for these mountain climbers who have decided to climb the mountain called K2, the Savage Mountain, in the winter. Now, mind you, K2 is a minus 15 degrees on its warmest day during the winter season. Okay? All right. But did you realize that you are also a mountaineer? Did you know that? Well, each of us are made to climb our own savage mountains. All right? Now, The title of my message today is Made to Climb. And I love it. And I found those words, and it just hit me when it was on an ad for something another in England. But the words, and there was a person climbing a mountain, right? And it was just this image. And it struck my soul. I mean, it was like, oh, and I knew I had a message for us. And I'm not like, I'm on vacation, right? I took a picture of the thing, and it's like, okay, I'll deal with that when I get back. I'm not working while I'm on vacation. So anyway, the title, Made to Climb, and it's about you and I opening to the courage to grow and rise above the difficult circumstances that can occur in our lives. Why do people willingly seek out the inhospitable environments of climbing mountains in the winter? I don't know. Is it really just for the sake of doing something that's considered impossible? Or is it possibly something within them that calls them to it? And I think more along the second line, honestly. Can you imagine how difficult it is on any of the great mountains in winter, let alone in spring and summer? I mean, those are fine, those are difficult, but in winter, is it something that you and I can relate to? Now, most of us don't think of ourselves as mountaineers, but I'm telling you, you are. You are. Thousands of steep, ice-covered miles with valleys that seem like mountains, because they're so high and deep. And they're boulder-strewn landscape, and it's just, there's nothing there for sustenance, right? And you're miles trekking away from any road before you even get to the base of the mountain, right? Okay. Yet for all that, do you know what the hardest climb is? It's not Mount Denali. It's not K2, the Savage Mountain. It's not even Mount Everest. It's that internal. The hardest climb is the internal mental struggle that you and I go through. Each of us have a mental climb that we make daily and sometimes minutely. I don't know about you, but sometimes minutely. And deep within each of us is a ground of being that rises up and is meant to come forth as you and I struggle against the numbing headwinds of uncertainty that blast around every bend. Okay? Have you ever been called to climb a savage mountain? I think most of us have in our lives. If you've lived any amount of time at all, you have had a savage mountain to climb. You may have questioned, why continue? I mean, what do I do that really matters anyway? Or does anything really matter? You may have come to a point where you just wondered, what can I do against all these mountainous circumstances? I don't have any abilities. I don't have any special powers, Seriously, do I really matter? Am I dreaming? Is what I want to do or working for really worth anything? Against these dissonant feelings from carrying the weight of doubts and the numbing cold of hopelessness, it is so easy to get caught up in the life around us that we forget our divine DNA and become trapped by the limitations that we have placed around ourselves and upon ourselves, and we've accepted them. It is then that you and I can lose our vision of hope. So hear this. There is a greatness of being. You are whole, you are perfect, and there is something powerful within you, regardless of how powerless you may think or insignificant you may think you are. There's an old little axiom that says, God don't make any junk. God also doesn't make anything small. Everything is infinite. Infinite. And you and I, as we step into this truth, You and I are infinite. There are infinite possibilities and ways that we can experience and express. Sometimes we get buried under the snow of witnessing the injustices of the world. But I would urge you not to let your light be consumed by that. Don't let it get buried so deep that you forget it. Sometimes, if it is buried, it'll call to you, and we have to go looking for it. Sometimes when we're on those mountains, it's about looking exactly for those possibilities within ourselves. There is a book by Mitch Albom. He's an author. In his book, he said, 5 People You Will Meet in Heaven. He tells the story of Eddie, who's a wounded war veteran. And he's an old man who has lived, in his mind, an uninspired and insignificant life. He was unimportant. His job, he just simply works at an amusement park, but he fixes the rides and keeps them safe. And on his 83rd birthday, Eddie dies saving a little girl from a falling cart. He awakes in the afterlife, and he has his life explained to him by 5 people, which is the premise of Mr. Albom's book. And one by one, these people come to Eddie, and from his childhood to his soldier to his old age, they reveal to him their connections to him and putting the lie to his meaninglessness of his life. And in the end, he found that his life mattered, and there was a purpose, and it had significance that was unknown to him, but it was there. I'm here to remind you and me today that we matter, and to help us to see the truth. We are made to climb. What goes through your mind when I ask you to tell yourself the following and believe this statement? Okay, take it in. I have gifts and talents to share, ideas to explore, and dreams to pursue. I accept myself as a child of God, having abundant potential and freedom to be my best self. I will not allow the injustices of the world to consume my light. So, what goes through your mind? Can you see this truth for yourself and believe it? If your mind says something different, what does your heart tell you? Sometimes our minds will say all kinds of stuff, because that's what they do. But our hearts are steadier. They're more focused. So deep within, if you haven't allowed yourself to fully see something, your heart will show it to you. Maybe it's a change you need to make, a relationship that needs to shift in some way, a goal that you need to focus on, or a dream that needs to be put front and center. Simply asking yourself this question. Now, this is important, and if you take nothing else away from this message, hear this question and ask yourself, what do I know that I haven't let myself see? What do I know that I haven't let myself see? Many times, you and I, we just don't want to see something, so we don't. And yet our heart knows. Our heart knows long before. So if you can do this question, what do I know that I haven't let myself see? It is a way to discover the deep truths that can make your life wonderful and open you to more experiences of power, strength, wonder, beauty, all of the things that create joy in our life. And many of us in our lives are experiencing setbacks right now. And we experience failures and have experienced them. And emotionally, maybe you've given up. We stop trying. We stop trying, not necessarily that we don't go to work or that we don't do this, but we stop trying to experience and know joy. We stop trying to experience and have that sense of that Christ within us. We consistently tell ourselves and come to believe that because we were unsuccessful, several times maybe even, that we will always be unsuccessful. In other words, we create a barrier in our heads, even when no real barrier exists in the world around us, between where we are and where we want to go. For me, that's when I really need to turn to spiritual guidance, and I get that when I turn to the Bible. And so I share this morning from Acts, and this is verses 1 through 9. Acts 3, 1 through 9. One day, Peter and John were going up to the temple at the hour of prayer. Now that was about 3 p.m. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And a man lame from birth was being carried in. People would lay him daily at the gate of the temple called the Beautiful Gate, so that he could ask for alms from those who were entering the temple. And when he saw Peter and John about to go into the temple, he asked them for alms. Peter looked intently at him, as did John, and said, "Look at us. Look at us." And he fixed his attention on them, expecting to receive something. But Peter said, "I have no silver or gold, but what I have I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk." And he took him by the right hand, and raised him up. And immediately his feet and ankles were strong. Jumping up, he stood and began to walk, and he entered the temple with them, walking and leaping and praising God. All right. Now the author of Acts is Luke, he describes this man at the temple gate as being born lame. And the issues of childhood can cripple us. All right. This passage is similar to the one where the disciples asked Jesus in John 9, 2 and 3. Disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "It was not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be made manifest in him." In other words, neither he nor the lame man did anything to warrant their conditions. They weren't being punished by God. Sometimes things go wrong. We have difficulties in our life. These Bible stories made clear, as Jesus did, that those beliefs that things that happen bad mean that you did something wrong or that you're bad or whatever and you're being punished were erroneous. Jesus was very clear. Some things do go wrong. Some things happen in life that are difficult or challenging. And the reality is that we have a choice. And we have the capacity to make a choice. What are we going to do with it? Are we going to let it, as bad things happen to good people, are we going to let it take us down? Or are we going to rise up to it and meet that challenge? So, Jesus taught us life is, and it will be, something that occurs, something happens. We get to have and to see and to know the miracle working power of God in our lives. Because we are made to climb. We can see the ground of our being rise up within us. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk. That is what that message is about, is taking that faith and love that Peter and John represent, focusing on them and allowing them to take our right hand, the understanding, the right understanding, the truth of our being and the truth of life that come to us in so many different ways, and let it make us strong, capable of walking in climbing and leaping and knowing all things are possible through us, in us, and as us. This lame man was sitting at that gate for a long time. He was, after all, an adult male. Peter and John come together and they say to him, look at us. When that faith of us, when our love in us are combined, they show us the infinite paths that are about where we're meant to be, what we can do. It can come in ideas, it can come in so many different ways. But they help us, whether it's comforting us or whether it's bringing peace to our mind or whether it's strengthening us or allowing that understanding to come and flow into and through our being so that we don't feel powerless in the midst of our difficulties. So that when we have our challenges, we know that we got what it takes. And we will do what it takes. And we can believe in ourselves and trust ourselves and Spirit to show us where to look, to show us that something is possible, to uplift us when we need it, and to make it possible to have good. Now, faith reaches beyond all those circumstances, and love is the strength to let us see truth. Courage, it brings courage to us. In the name of Jesus Christ, walk. That is such a powerful reference. And it's speaking to the fact that Christ was within them and they were capable of exuding it. You and I, Christ is within us. And we are capable of exuding it. Now that is something to leap for joy about. As a matter of fact, I say I leap for joy because I am made to climb. I'm going to ask you to join me. We ought to leap for joy. Join me in affirming this statement. I leap for joy because I am made to climb. I leap for joy because I am made to climb. Sometimes we're made to climb, but I leap for joy. And if we can allow ourselves to sense the praise, to get into that sense of praise and wonder and awe of what's possible, there is so much more that can occur in our lives. There's a reason that the Bible uses this story of Peter and John entering into the beautiful gate. The beautiful gate represented spiritual understanding. And here they are, they're healing and lifting up this crippled man. And so within you and me, sometimes we have been crippled by something, whatever it is. And it's been since childhood, or it's been since a marriage, or it's been since a divorce, or it's been since someone we love died, or it's been since the senses, and they overtake our senses. But you and I don't have to be crippled and begging. We can praise and leap for joy, regardless of where we're at and what's going on in our life. Jesus never met his challenges on the level that they were. He always rose above. He always took them to that spiritual understanding and the level of that. You and I have been given tools to climb our savage mountains of faith, love, strength, will. And we've also been given the capacity for that life-giving oxygen of gratitude and joy. I hope you let yourself see that and hold on to it within yourselves today. This is your birthright. You are a child of the living God, made to climb, to rise above your circumstances and go forward with your lives. A joyful heart is the normal result of a heart burning with love. Joy is that strength. The people in Jesus' life were attracted to him because that higher power dwelt in him and it flowed so freely from him, out of his eyes, his hands, his mouth, his body, just touching him, and they could feel it. He held and does hold the same power that you and I have, that Christ power. He presented it. He offered it. He stepped into it. He climbed into it. He was made for it. The last few years I have come to understand. You know, this whole world, people have been made to climb over the circumstances, the tough conditions, and the tough choices we've had to make. But tough choices can also reveal this truth. As you and I rise, we are meant to lift others with us. Because truthfully, we work and we climb better when we do it together. Those mountaineers don't climb alone, not if they're smart. Somebody ought to leap for joy for that knowledge. Just knowing we're meant to do this together. We don't have to do it alone. People are hungry and thirsty for God's love all over this world. And if you and I will allow ourselves to know and experience joy, we can meet that hunger and feed that. Did you know joy is one of the best safeguards against those slick and slippery temptations of life? Leap for joy because you were made to climb. I hope you let this knowledge settle in your bones. Let the ground of your being light your life and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, leap, all the things that you are capable of. Thank you, Father, Mother, Spirit, that I was made to climb. God bless you in this day. Thank you for being with us. And if you feel that you have been receiving something, we hope that you let us know. God bless you.